Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome back. Monday morning, live talking about the stock market. Oh boy, we've got some stuff to talk about. Lots has happened over the weekend, including a debate I got demolished in. Hope you guys enjoyed seeing that debate. How many of you guys watched that debate with me and Alex from ticker symbol U? I have some thoughts on it. It really wasn't supposed to be super debatey. It was just more so really exploring the idea once we kind of got into it. In terms of just everything around Palantir. We do have some breaking Palantir news that I want to get to. Lots of other stuff. Derek, what's up? Range Rover, I get paid to wait. What's up? Good morning, Cameron. Futures fell last night, so stocks are not doing well today. We're going to pull up Webull just in a second, take a look at what's going on. S&P is down, as you can see, almost 1%, 399. Tesla is trading at 766. It's not horrible in the pre-market, but it's not amazing. Palantir gave up most of their gains. They're down 2%. They're at 816. Now they passed 8, which was awesome, but they're not sustaining it right now, currently at the moment. Afternoon from Scotland. What's up? What's up? All I remember is nuts and bolts. Good morning from sunny South Florida. Morning. Watched it, loved it. I will talk about it in a little bit. I'll give you guys my thoughts on how I thought it went. Overall, I thought it was a phenomenal debate. And the reason I kept pushing and getting a little bit more into it during the moment was because I could tell, people were watching. They really did enjoy the intellectual sparring that we did, which I thought was really good. And I also agree with most of what Alex says. I think the slight disagreement was I was okay with the shareholder letter from Karp because I liked the kind of philosophical undertones, but that doesn't mean I'm ignorant to the fact that they need to execute a meaningful business. So it was a good discussion. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Look, we've got some interesting news coming that's going on right now. Let me pull up this article from China, which is kind of why I think futures dropped last night. I don't know how many of you guys have seen this, so this might be news to some of you, and then we'll get into some of the Palantir stuff. China's economic data disappointed in April as COVID controls weighed on. So as you can see, China's economic data disappoints in April. Industrial production dropped by 2.9% in April from a year ago, in contrast with expectations for a slight increase of 0.4%. Retail sales fell by 11.1%. That was rough. The unemployment rate in China's 31 largest cities climbed to a new high of 6.7%. That hasn't happened since 2018. And Shanghai announced that Sunday would allow restaurants to open, so things would start to get better by the back of June, but so far things are bad. I think futures were up last morning, and then this report came out last night. Yeah, look at this, May 15th, 10 p.m. Eastern. So it came out literally last night, and I think that's what got futures to basically fall as soon as they heard this stuff. Is this the biggest news in the world? I don't think so, but nonetheless, it has happened, and this is affecting China as a result of this happening. Supply chains in China are the reason why everything is screwed up in the United States. I mean, so like until the Shanghai lockdowns go away, we're not going to change from that. But nonetheless, that's still pretty bad. Now, another article, we're going to talk about Palantir. This is the breaking news on Palantir. So let's go to it right here. Let me show this up. Here we go. Yes. So tech firm behind the NHS COVID data system moves security operations to UK amid Kremlin cyber attack fears. This is Palantir. So I'm going to do a video on this a little bit later, but this is sort of the TLDR. Fears of a Russian cyber attack has forced the firm behind the NHS vaccine rollout, which is Palantir, to permanently move to Britain. Palantir is taking its security options away from the United States to the United Kingdom. So they were handling all of security in the United States, but because of the fear of a cyber attack from the Kremlin in Russia, as you know, Russia's in a major war with Ukraine right now, they're moving their entire security operations to the UK, which, they have a lot of clients in the UK. They work with the NHS, so there's a lot of stuff there. It kind of makes sense for why they're doing this. The firm, which works with the Ministry of Defense, helped the NHS COVID data system to be analyzed, is believed to be the biggest company of its kind to set up a base in the UK. Palantir's UK head, Lewis Mosley, said, according to The Telegraph, that protecting the UK's most vital public and private organizations has never been more important. Palantir is developing a very strong relationship with the Ukrainian government right now, and with people and with governments in Europe. So, I mean, this is a thing they have to take very seriously if they want to boost their governmental revenue and be able to ultimately do this. Since the start of the war in Ukraine, the Kremlin has been accused of launching cyber attacks against Ukraine and other European targets, as well as duping British government departments and ministers. Now, Palantir is also working with the UK on their Ukrainian refugee crisis, which is a really important thing because the UK, Lithuania, Poland, these are all companies that are responsible for housing a lot of Ukrainian refugees. Palantir is creating the data infrastructure to be able to make sure the matching of that data actually happens in a meaningful way. So it is very important that Palantir is working with these companies, and that's why they're moving to the UK. China manipulates all their economic data. Hey, John, that's a good point. I mean, I forgot to talk about that. I mean, the economic data that's being influenced by China is likely happening as well. Hey, what's up, bro? So I sent you on your last video about Exover institutional buys in the last quarter. I believe it was very interesting. You might want to check it out. Definitely, I will check that out. I did not see that yet. About covering. Okay. Cool. We'll talk about that. So let's go back into the market. We are here. Look, we're going to see what happens. I mean, so let's talk about the elephant in the room. Was this a dead cat bounce? And by the way, let me make sure my mic is not super hot. Is this super hot? No, it's 70. It's good. Okay. Was this a dead cat bounce? That is the fundamental question. We have to ask ourselves that question. Goldman Sachs is saying that it absolutely was a dead cat bounce. And JP Morgan, by the way, they said that we are not going to stop until we see 3,400. I actually just tweeted their quote. Let me go to it right now. So here we go. JP Morgan. Morgan Stanley. With valuations now more attractive, equity markets are so oversold and rates potentially stabilizing below 30%, stocks appear to have finally begun another material bear market rally. So they're saying, look, the rally that we saw, it was absolutely not real. It was a bear market rally. After that, we remain confident that lower prices are still ahead, close to 3,400, which is kind of crazy. If we are thinking that that's going to happen. That means, and that's like a real technical bear market. And then there's my motivational quote: if you keep working, you stop doubting. That's just true. If you keep working, you stop doubting. So JP Morgan thinks we're getting to 3,400. Goldman Sachs thinks there's a 35% chance of recession happening. So like that's also there. Goldman Sachs, Goldman Blank Fine says U.S. at a very, very high risk of recession. So the elephant in the room behind everything that's going on is this a dead cat bounce? And quite honestly, I would have to concede that yes, it is. I mean, like, I don't know why we're thinking it's not. Shout out to the 211 people watching. Put in the chat, do you think this is a dead cat bounce or do you not think this is a dead cat bounce? Because it feels like a dead cat bounce. There is zero reason. I tweeted this on Friday. There was zero reason for that route. Absolutely zero reason. There's no reason we should have had a bounce. Inflation is still bad. China lockdown still bad. We barely hit sort of a technical bear market. The technical bear market is 385 on the S&P. We kind of hit that for a second, then we bounced back up. So 3,400 is real pain. That's why I've been saying, and I'm quoting Sachin, not even me. Sachin is one of my good friends. He has like a couple $1 million position in Palantir. Be ready for $3 or $4 on Palantir. It's just like it's getting to the point where it's inevitable. And I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying if we get to 3,400, I don't know if Palantir's lasting. It's $5-6 unless there's just a absolute market of buyers that are buying Palantir at $5-6 maybe. But if not, then we're going to hit that. Additionally, JP Morgan increased their Palantir stakeholder position by 1,000%. They have 300,000 shares. They bought 3 million shares. That's awesome. Ray Dalio's hedge fund, Bridgewater Associates, they disclosed a 516,000 share position in Palantir. So we're getting more institutions that are probably over the past couple of weeks recognized this is kind of ridiculous for such a Palantir is trading below what it was valued in the private markets in like 2019. It's like, all right, it's getting a little ridiculous. We understand the market, but this is getting a little ridiculous. And as a result of it getting ridiculous, there may be some big buys, but that they happen throughout the entire market. The question is if those big buys are good enough of a rally to sustain an actual ending to this bear market. And I just think that's ridiculous to assume that that's happening. Nothing in the macro has changed. Nothing in the micro has changed. Nothing in the short or long-term horizons have changed. Literally nothing has changed. Earnings were phenomenal for a lot of companies, not so great for other companies, but with decent earnings, Open Door beat revenues by 500%, and they still couldn't get their stock price out of the gutter. If Google, Amazon, Apple are down 40%, then the rest of the companies are going to be down that much. It's just inevitable. We have to be patient and just get through this moment, and eventually we will get through it, but I don't know if it's going to happen immediately. For those who are new on this channel, there's a slight delay, unfortunately, between the time I start the live stream and the YouTube thing. I don't know why. I've been trying to figure it out. So I'm going to try to time this thing correctly with ringing the bell so that there's not a delay. Here's a bell for those who are new to the market open. You are about to wake up if you have not waked up. You ready? And now the market kind of should be open. wake your ass up. The market is open. And we are going to see. Now, it's relatively green. Relatively green. We see a lot of green. A lot of green. Okay, we just opened 9:30. A little bit of red. It's like a lottery every morning. It's like we're just like, what's gonna go up, what's gonna go down. Like it's kind of the thrill. Some people would say this is a horrible way to spend your life, just staring at these numbers. Some people would say that the numbers kind of make life meaningful. So let's see what we've got going on. We've got Palantir. All right, we're down 2% on Palantir. Got it. It was probably inevitable. I understand. Shout out to 282 people in the chat. Really, really appreciate everyone being here. Quarantine Quartet, how are you? Thank you for being here. WTF is a dead cat bounce. A dead cat bounce is basically when we have a rally that's not really a rally. Like we go up a little bit and then we just come back down. And that's what I think we're going to have. So Palantir down 2% in the morning. Let's go to Robinhood. Robinhood is up 10. Now Robinhood was at 771. It's up 30% because what's that name? The FTX bought a piece of it. I just had the article loaded up. Let me see if I got it. FTX bought, there we go. FTX Sam Brinkman-Fried. If you guys are fans of FTX, they brought a 7.6% stake in Robinhood. That's what made Robinhood go up. 56 million shares. Why did this happen? I have a video coming about it later. I kind of think it's like a hostile takeover thing. It's not going to happen immediately, but I do think that they are interested in buying the hood because of their consumer-facing product and implementing it with FTX. So Robinhood has rallied on the. If they did not buy that, Robinhood would not be at $10. They would still be down to $7. Twitter, the Elon Musk deal, it seems like it's not happening. So, I mean, well, it's not happening now. It's definitely not happening at $54, $39. Elon basically said, look, there's fake users on your platform. We don't know. I don't know if I can trust this. And as a result, people were like, well, this deal's not getting done. And Twitter stock price tanked. The only reason it was 48 in this market is because of the Twitter hypothetical acquisition, which, would lead to a decent return. But it seems like that's not happening. Tesla 760 down 1%. It's holding up okay. Tesla's under $800. Most people that are Tesla bulls are screaming to buy Tesla right now. I'm worried because if the S&P goes to 3,400, Tesla's probably going to 500. It's just that's probably what's going to happen. But and that would be a screaming buy to me. At that point, I'm buying. But at 700, now the question is, do we get to 3,400? Even if Tesla gets to 650, I'm probably buying. Like I know I haven't bought any Tesla at 650. I would be buying. But I'm afraid of Tesla just because I'm afraid of the market. And I think Tesla would violently go down if the market goes down just because, Tesla's a big part of the market. Does anyone have the link for the new letter that Amit puts out? Is he still doing that? I will send you the link. You guys will see that. It should, if you just subscribe to dailypalantir.com, you'll get there. So if you go to dailypalantir.com and subscribe, you will get the newsletter in your email. dailypalantir.com, if that's the one you're talking about. I believe that's the one you're talking about. I should start a Substack. I was thinking of starting a Substack, a newsletter. I don't know if you guys would be interested in that. There's a lot of stuff I'm doing. By the way, Bitcoin at 29,000. It's below 30K. We're going to see what ends up happening with Bitcoin. Let's look back at the market. But in terms of Substack, I mean, I do write articles. I honestly hate writing, though. I like talking more. But it would be another thing on my plate. But if you guys would want to, like a very quick, here's what's going on today type of newsletter, I'd be down to start it. It would be fun. It would be fun to grow a little newsletter. Google. This is the stock I'm very interested in. 2,300. Let's see what happens. 2,300. What's your Tesla percentage in your portfolio? 0. 70 of you just leave right after I say that. 0. I do not own any of the Tesla. I did own Tesla a while ago. I just sold too early. So I'm not a Tesla maximist, unfortunately. Now, I believe heavily in the company and I want to buy it. I just... it's. I thought this was SPY, by the way. When I clicked on this, I was like, we're at 380 already on the SPY. That's Shopify. I want to buy Tesla. I just never got it. And again, a lot of my money's in Palantir. I just think the 10x on Palantir is closer than the 10x on Tesla. That's it. That's sort of the sort of key argument there. Down 67% on Palantir. Rough times. It is rough times, but things will get better. Things will get better. This market will not last forever. Let's look at what Jeff Bezos says. I don't know if you guys see this. I have a video coming out on this a little bit later. The newly created disinformation board should review this tweet, or maybe they need to form a non-sequitur board instead. Raising corporate taxes is fine to discuss. Taming inflation is critical to discuss. Mushing them together is just misdirection. This is in response to Joe Biden saying you want to bring down inflation. Let's make sure the wealthiest corporations pay their fair share. Now, look, this is probably just like not not accurate. I did a video all explaining about this. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. bringing down inflation just by taxing people and having more of Jeff Bezos' wealth does nothing to solve supply chains, does nothing to solve supply and demand of products that actually causes inflationary pressure. It does nothing to better redistribute wealth. There's a lot of issues, and I talk all about it in that video, by taxing people that actually would make inflation worse. So Bezos, the fun thing about this is like, he's dunking. Like, we've never seen Bezos dunk before. This guy manages trillions of dollars of wealth in Amazon. He has 200 something billion dollars or 150 billion dollars. So he's been away from politics, because why would you want to talk about politics if you're that rich? You're like, I don't want to piss people off. But he's not the CEO anymore. He is now the chairman, and I think he's letting loose. He does not, look at it. He only has 331 tweets compared to someone like Elon, who is like tweeting all day, thousands of tweets. Bezos is coming back with a vengeance. He also did this. Someone said, this is so silly. The deficit is decreasing because we're not doing pandemic aid anymore, because Biden said we've decreased the deficit so much. And Bezos says, in fact, the administration tried hard to inject even more stimulus into an already heated inflationary economy, and only mansions saved them from themselves. Inflation is a regressive tax that hurts the most least affluent. Misdirection doesn't help the country. He took a dig at this sort of disinformation board. I don't know what you guys think about that. I think it's kind of ridiculous, this whole disinformation board. But he was basically like, hey, maybe your own board should review your own tweets, my guy. Because you're kind of, your stuff is not correct. Your stuff is not correct at all. So that's kind of wild. Amit, do you think Palantir is supply constrained, not demand constrained? Like, is Palantir being selective of the clients while others are still banging at the door trying to get the product? That's a very good question. I don't know the answer to that. I would say they're more supply constrained than demand constrained. If they were demand constrained, I think their numbers would be better than what they were in earnings. Now, they might be demand constrained, and we'll see that going into the future in terms of the governmental revenue. That's why they said that you should expect significant upside and volatility in the overall revenue. But they wouldn't be growing only 5% quarter to quarter. They did 444 million in this revenue of this quarter. They're going to do 470 next quarter projected. They wouldn't project such a low amount of guidance if they were not supply constrained. Meaning if they had so much demand, I think they would raise they would want to sell the product, is what I'm trying to say. They would want to put up good numbers, so they would raise the guidance. So I don't think they're demand constrained, but we're gonna see what happens. Let's look at some other stonks. By the way, shout out to 340 people being here in the chat. Means the world to me. We've averaged about 170, 180. Last week we were getting close to 200s. The fact that 340 people are here in the morning means a lot to me. For those who missed the Palantir news, the breaking Palantir news was that they're moving their operations from the United States for security purposes, for their like cybersecurity division stuff in the UK, because they believe there is an attack coming from the Kremlin, or they just believe it's unsafe to be in the US with their security operations because of warnings of cyber attacks from the Kremlin. I will be writing about it on dailypalantir.com. I know I haven't been updating the website as much as I should be. It's because the past month and a half has been pretty ridiculous on my end. I do have a startup. We are raising money. There's a lot of things going on, but it's going to get to the point where we start uploading 10 articles a day, and I'm very serious about that. That will be happening today. It's just a question of making sure I carve out the time in my schedule to get that information out, because there's plenty to talk about. Like, there's plenty to talk about. I just literally need to get to my computer and write it, and I'm doing a billion things every day. So we're going to be able to get that going. What do you think? Would you buy Beyond Meat? Let's talk about Beyond Meat, man. Oh my goodness. So Beyond Meat is looking beyond dead right now. This was a stock that was like 200 at one point. Let's look at their max. Yeah, look at this, 239, November 2019. Now, put in the chat if you've had an Impossible Burger or Beyond Meat burger. I've never done it yet. I had the opportunity to when I was at a burger shop, and my friend who is a vegetarian, he got the Beyond option, and he was like, do you want to try it? And I was like, well, we're at a restaurant with real burgers, so I don't want to ruin my night by eating. Like, I ate a real burger, so I haven't tried it yet. I definitely do need to try it. Curious on your guys' thoughts about this. Now, Beyond Meat, their earnings were not that good. The story and the growth story is kind of going away from them. So as a result, they're down. Now, would I buy it? No, because I don't believe in the product. Do I think there's a world in which we stop doing industrial farming and we have this sort of organic method of people consuming meat? Yes. I don't know if that's happening anytime soon. I also think that climate change and these issues that are so broad, we don't care about when the economy sucks. When the economy gets better, we'll care about that. As a result of that, I don't think people are going to care that much anymore, at least for the short term. Tesla down below 760, just got hit down 2%. That happened. Apple. Now, the technical real bear market on Apple, like S&P 3400, Apple's 120. And I tweeted this over the weekend. Apple, I'm buying the crap out of it if it's at 120. That was the former all-time high before it had its next run, which ultimately the logic is your all-time high becomes your resistance. So that's likely going to be the resistance at 120. People are saying they've had Beyond Meat. I used to own Beyond Meat, great tasting burger. Some people are saying it's disgusting. Have had both veggie burger stick with beef. Had it once, pretty convincing. Impossible Burger is scary because of how real it tastes. Oh, interesting. I know Burger King has it. I gotta try it. Sometimes I'm scared though of what they put in the meat, and I'm like, is it real? Like, is it worth like, putting it in my system? I don't know. But we'll see. Netflix why is Netflix up 5%? Let's tweet that. Why is Netflix up 5%? What's going on? First of all, let me tweet that I'm live as well. I didn't do that, but why is Netflix up 5% on a red day? What's going on? What's going on with Netflix? Netflix is now turning into that value play. That's the question. Is it a value play? Is Netflix a value play? 373 people. Thank you so much. Let me just tweet this live. Let's see if we can get to 400 live now, talking all things in this wild market. Boom. There. Let's go to CNBC on their YouTube. Let's see what's going on there. Let's hear from Jim, our boy Kramer. Gorov says, Amit, what is your startup idea? How can you invest in it? I will not give the pitch right now. It will be launching publicly, but if you're interested in reserving a spot for private investment or at least taking a look at the pitch deck, email amit@dailypalantir.com. We have some pretty heavy hitters that are investing, some people that we've raised about $250,000 so far. If anyone's interested, amit@dailypalantir.com, and I'll send you the pitch deck. Okay, Palantir is moving. Whoa, Palantir is moving. This is why I need to look at the chat, because you guys keep me in check. I don't feel like it's a good live stream if I'm not paying attention to the chat. Like, I need to always pay attention to it. Okay, Palantir's up. Wow, 8.3, 834. Back up. Back up. Not bad. Beyond Meat is sodium, high fat, low protein. Yeah, that's probably true. Oh, Netflix did tell their woke staff to find another job. That is true. Netflix did indeed do that. So, I guess maybe that news got the stock up. So Palantir's up. It's running. Is the market reversing? No, not really. I mean, a little bit. But not really. Someone said minimum investment for my startup. It's actually $100. We're using a crowdfunding platform, so literally you can invest on it. Now the minimum of what we've gotten is around 2,700, 5,000. That's the average from the people we've raised from on the crowdfund. But yeah, minimum is $100. Okay, so interesting. So the market, it's not really turning. Enphase at 157. It was at 149 last week, so that's up a little bit. Let's go to this video on CNBC, a generational buying opportunity. I saw this. I didn't click on it yet. I didn't get to watch, so we'll watch it together. Here we go. Let's see what Dan Ives is. For those who don't know who Dan Ives is, the reason he's on CNBC all the time is because this guy, he's like a managing director at some fund, and he talks a lot. He's a tech analyst on Wall Street over 2 decades. He manages funds. So he's more bullish than bearish. Let's hear his thoughts. He says it's a generational buying opportunity. I mean, let's hear the logic for why he might think that is true.
List of Post 9 to make his case. You really think this is a generational buying opportunity?
Well, I think for the right stocks, but because our viewpoint covering tech since late 99, in these downturns, you got to separate the froth from what we believe are the names that are going to be able to navigate and valuations that we believe are way oversold. So I look at software, cybersecurity, I look at names like Microsoft, you look at names like Amazon, Apple, among others. That's why to us, we're not just going to sit here and say you paint them all with the same brush. It's a bifurcated tape.
Okay, let's talk about the mega caps specifically. Because who's to say...
So let's hear his thoughts on the mega caps. This is Google, Amazon, Apple. Let's hear his thoughts here.
That these stocks deserved to be where they were before this recent sell-off. I take a look and I raised this issue, and I asked our team to put these numbers together because I wanted to raise this with you. If you look at where the PEs were for all of the mega cap all-stars, right? From the pandemic low, let's call that March 2020, okay? Apple's PE was 17. All-time high S&P, it got up to 30. Microsoft 23 got to 34.
This is a really interesting chart to look at.
Alphabet 22 got to 25. Meta from 18 to 24. Nvidia from 27 to 58. The point being that a lot of these stocks, if not the whole group, got that burst because of all that the Fed was doing from liquidity, right? Now that the Fed's pulling that liquidity away, why shouldn't these stocks go back to where they were around the time that the Fed injected this liquidity? These stocks didn't run up in the manner in which they did on fundamentals, did they?
And that's a great question. That would be a big debate. And ultimately, I just view it as fundamentally, when I look at the trends over the next, call it 2-3 years, when I look at the cloud trends, I look at semis, I look at AI, I look at what I believe is the fourth industrial revolution. You stress test these numbers. Look, this is the fundamentally different. The buy side, they're already looking now, 2023 numbers, assume mild recession ahead of the sell side. So my point is that numbers here relative, I mean, if you look at MFANG from an EBITDA perspective, I mean, 12 times, you're starting to look toward what I go almost be market multiples for what I view as probably the best growth names across tech.
So he's bullish on FANG. He says, look, AI, robotics, they're still going to grow. He says they're getting undersold, and the multiples are becoming really more than reasonable, right? So a multiple on a stock is like, how much are you willing to pay for every additional dollar of growth? And if it's a really good company like Tesla, you're willing to pay a decent multiple, right? Because Tesla is going to keep growing, so it's going to become more valuable. If you lose your multiple, you lose the entire value of your company, because then investors don't believe you can keep growing. And if they don't believe you can keep growing, they're not going to invest in the company. That's why Wall Street is so quarterly. You've got to meet these numbers because you've got to show growth. Dan Ives is saying, look, they're going to keep growing. Even in a mild recession, these companies are not going anywhere, and their multiples have become reasonable.
But say, like, these stocks were used as, in some respects, bond proxies. In, I think, a large respect, defensive plays in an uncertain world during the pandemic. Can you make the argument to me today that Apple deserves to be at a 30 PE? Or does it deserve to be closer to the 17 where it was before the Fed put all of the punch in the bowl?
Okay, so that's a good example.
So the Fed, before the Fed pumped liquidity into the market, Apple was trading at a 17 times PE. So the host is Scott. His question is like, okay, well, is it actually deserved to be 30, right? Without this Fed liquidity?
Let's just look at Apple.
Yeah.
The services business is a different business today, and I believe going forward, than it was 2 years ago. So you're talking about an $80 billion revenue stream that basically has been a big part of the re-rating in Apple. And it's always been my contention, Apple's a name. When you look at it straight PE, instead of some of the parts in terms of looking at services and hardware, you ultimately, what I believe is, undershoot what should be the core valuation. So my point here is that I'm not saying the froth, the web vans, the global crossings, what we saw in 2000.com front and center, that's not going to happen. I'm just saying you have to separate the have and have-nots, and valuation here relative to when we go back to 08, 09 and even 01, 02 relative to growth. We view now as the time for the names that we've talked about in our tech playbook to own them.
But is Apple's services business?
Basically, he's saying, look, they're going to be around. They're still going to be super, super profitable, and we can't undervalue this phenomenal company. I mean, because he didn't really answer the question about the earnings or the multiple. He just said, look, the products are going to be used forever. They're still going to work, which I get. If you're an Apple bull, I understand it.
13 points of valuation better than it was 2 years ago?
Well, I think, and I think when you look at Apple services business, you look at the growth, you look at ultimately the margin on the services piece. I think it's something going into the pandemic, the market was basically assigned. Now it's worth $400 billion. And at one point in the pandemic, we're looking at 1.5 trillion. So I think a big difference with some of these names, I'd argue the same with Amazon. Some of the parts, what's the cloud business worth? With Google, I'd argue right here, you're assigning minimal growth and minimal valuation to the cloud. You stress test numbers on the other side of this, get every bear argument out there. But it just comes down to, like, Scott, we've talked to 25 of our checks this week, CIOs, product managers trying to understand spending.
Yeah.
Stress test these areas, it's firm. And that's why we'll cut. Now you'll see.
So the stress test, what he's saying there is like, the stress test is Google not going to have people searching on it anymore? That's the stress test, right? Are people not going to buy iPhones anymore? Are people not going to pay for whatever services Apple's offers? Is it? Oh, and Palantir, by the way, just crashed. Like, this is what I'm saying, bro. This is ridiculous. Like, this is insane. So, this is just insane. Look at this. We were at 834. Now we're at 804. So the point, what he's saying is like, look, if this stuff isn't going to go away, if the stress test is going to continue, then I mean, there's no reason to doubt these stocks going into the future with their multiples at pretty reasonable valuations now. Google is trading 6 times price to sales. So if we factor in growth still increasing, they're going to be okay. All right, what's going on? Look at this red candle we're looking at right now. We're literally looking at this right now. Do you guys see this? This is insane. Shout out Sachin, you're in the chat. Thank you for being here. By the way, guys, we reached 400 people for the first time. since starting these live streams in February. I appreciate all 430 of you that are in the chat. Means the absolute world to me. Thank you so much for being here. And let's keep going on with the show. Palantir, 805. Tesla, 749. So Tesla, we saw it at 767 market open, dropped. Palantir, we saw it 819, dropped to 803, went back up to 834, now back down to 808. I mean, this is the nature of what's going on in this market. I got here late, breaking Palantir news. They're moving their operations from the US to the UK for security reasons, for the cybersecurity division. So that's kind of the breaking news for Palantir. Coinbase down 9%. Look at this. This is my, bro, I'm not trying to be like, I told you so or anything, because I'm not a freaking genius. Everyone's been saying this, but like Friday just felt so artificial. That's why I didn't buy on Friday. I didn't FOMO like, oh, let me get a Palantir at 8 before it goes to 9. Like buying Palantir at 8 on Friday because you think it's going to 9. Now, granted, if you don't care for the long term, it's whatever. But if you think it's going to 9 and you want to get in before it hits 9, to me, it made zero sense personally. And I've made that problem, that mistake I described, I've made that mistake metaphorically on other stocks over the past 3 years. I think I'm finally learning some discipline, which is just logically, there's no catalyst for this. There's no catalyst for what happened on Friday. And we're going back down to prices below. Look at this. Back under 400 on the S&P. The host shows the bottom of the March 2020 lows in PE. He should have been looking at the pre-lows of the average PE over the last few years. That's a good point, Vitaly. I mean, the numbers were a little manipulated for that segment, so you could have definitely done it in a different way. Dan Ives is super bullish. And you remember when Tom Lee said we're going to have a bull market rally in February, this V-shaped recovery? The question is if these guys are like... if these guys are really expecting a bad recession, because like they know there's going to be a mild recession, but imagine the S&P gets to 3,100 instead of 3,400. I mean, Apple's going to be below $100 or something. Like if the market tanks, now granted, we're so bad, I just don't see that happening because it's so bad, but we'll see if it happens. Enphase, because Vitaly's in the chat. By the way, if you guys see him in the chat, definitely check out the Freelance Finance channel. Love those guys. Awesome channel. $155. Enphase is looking very attractive. Look at Enphase's chart. In 2017, I had $3. I had 65 cents. I was making some decent money in college. I wasn't making a lot, but I had started my own business. I was making about a couple grand a month. I just imagine just dropping into little Enphase at 60 cents. Vitaly, I wish I knew you back then. You could have told me about it. And that would have been amazing. So Twitter down 6.4%. So Enphase, for those who don't know the story, I actually did a video on it on Vitaly's channel. I definitely recommend checking it out. I'll just show you guys the video real quick. They have a monopoly on creating the thing that goes under the solar panel. That's the cool thing about them. The thing that goes underneath the solar panel. Not the solar panel, the thing that goes underneath it. The Enphase equation will make you rich by 2025. I agree them when they say they'll make you rich by 25. It's a clickbait title, but it's a title that I think it makes a lot of sense. They really did a great job breaking it down. So Enphase is a stock I'm very interested in. They've basically sold me on the story. I don't know if I'm ready to buy it yet, given how the market's operating. Coin down 9%. Let me go down. Someone said Twitter down. There's Twitter. Twitter's 38. All right. If you bought Twitter at 45, that's... It's rough. Coinbase down another 9%. Yep. 5% more. Carnage. It's not a mild recession. It's going to be a huge bear recession starting in September this year. Maybe, but maybe not. The thing is, no one knows. No one freaking knows. And like, that's why the one thing I do know is that I don't think it's going to get better anytime soon, which is why I'm not buying. But no one officially knows. Tattooed Chef. I know this is a stock people talk about. 729. SoFi's up 7. Oh, SoFi's up 5%. Not bad. I think SoFi. There was some news I saw about earnings on not earnings, but something about personal loans on SoFi. Let's go to CNBC. Let's see if there's anything breaking there. The inverter. Yes, the inverter. Sorry, I said it wrong. The inverter. Bernanke says the Fed's slow response to inflation was a mistake. You think? I love how that's the headline. It's like, yeah. Oh, this one. We didn't talk about McDonald's. First of all, who eats McDonald's at least once a month? Put it in the chat. Yes or no? Do you eat it once a month? I would say no to me. Probably once every 2 months. I think I had it a couple of weeks ago. Did I? Yes. McDonald's says it will sell its Russia business after previously pausing operations due to the Ukraine war. So McDonald's is out. They're out of Russia. They've made the decision that what's going on in Russia is insane, and they're out. this is, I would agree with this. Look, it's a good thing. What's going on with Ukraine is absolutely unacceptable, and McDonald's is out. Now, the hard thing is for the people in Russia that like don't have anything to do with the war, that are just there and like they just they want their country to be normal again. Where do they get food from? McDonald's is a great place for people to get low-costing food and survive. And when that goes away, that's hurting your own citizens. But I think that's kind of the point. That's what Putin has to recognize, that if it's hurting our own citizens, it's not. It's not. We should probably stop engaging in a war. A lot of yeses. Wow, a lot of yeses. Some people are saying no McDonald's. A lot of people are saying yeses. Yes, here in Thailand. Thank you from being here from Thailand. I appreciate it. McDonald's has 800 restaurants and 62,000 employees in Russia. All of those jobs and restaurants goes away because of Putin's ridiculous nonsense that he's pulling off in Ukraine. It's sad, man. The fact that this is not over yet, it's just, it's rough. It's tough. We talked about this on Money Talks today. JetBlue is launching a hostile takeover bid for Spirit Airlines. All right, next question. So some people said Shake Shack, just ate breakfast there. Hunter, what'd you get from McDonald's breakfast? Who has flown Spirit Airlines before? Either Spirit Airlines or like one of those really cheap, you know what I mean? Like cheap flights. I've done it once. I was going to Texas, and man, that flight, it was like a roller coaster, bro. It was like, Tom described it nicely on the Money Talks today. He was like, it's like a stool. You sit on the stool and you just sit there. And they just take you to your destination. So let me know if anyone has, because we're in the world of hostile takeovers. It's happening now, right? We're this is what's going on. As market and prices fluctuate and get devalued, we are going to see more and more of this type of activity happen. So Spirit Airlines is up as a result of that. SPY $3.99, Coinbase $63. Robinhood back to 3%. Yeah, nothing that crazy. I mean, the market's it's down in the morning, but it's relatively flat. Nothing that insane from that perspective. Let's go back to YouTube. Let's see what other CNBC videos we can catch up with. Frontier Airlines. Chris, what's up in the chat? JetBlue is fantastic. JetBlue is good. Spirit Airlines is trash. I hated Mickey D's, but moved. Our local one is amazing. Yeah. Oh, wow. Look, he's talking about it right now. All right, let's hear what he's saying. Mickey D's is good. It just depends on the kind of area you're at. All right, let's hear what Pete Buttigieg has to say about JetBlue.
Curious what your thoughts are about consolidation in the airline industry at this point, given how much consolidation there's already been, and whether you think a transaction like this would be approved.
Well, I can't weigh in, obviously, on DOJ's process of approval. What I will say is that as they undertake that process, we'll make sure to inform it with all of the technical support we can from my department. Look, the most important thing is to make sure that the American people are served well by a healthy airline sector. And part of a healthy airline sector, part of any healthy sector in our economy, is healthy competition. That needs to be demonstrated. That this wouldn't have a negative effect on competition in order to meet those legal hurdles. We'll see how the process plays out.
Mr. Secretary, but explain this in terms of how you weigh it at this point. This administration has talked a lot about competitive concerns actually leading to inflation in this country, right? Like that's one of the issues that you have raised over and over again. So when you look at a transaction, how much is it today about the competition piece versus you said you also want a healthy industry and also...
This is a good question because he's asking, like, look, is it just like the market's depressed and now it's competition and like people are, buying more stuff, or is there actual real competition going on?
There's, advocates for transactions like this would say that making the industry healthier would mean making the companies healthier. How do you see both sides
again,
of that?
it's for the DOJ to evaluate the antitrust side. I mean, it is interesting at the
That's called dodging a question. He's like, that's the DOJ's job, bro. That's not me.
time of airline deregulation. I don't think anybody thought that the concentration would build up the way that it has.
By the way, the airline deregulation, this is one of the things I learned in business school. We read a case study when, I think it was the 70s, 80s, when Congress totally deregulated the airlines. That's how Southwest actually became like a competitor. It really was great for the economy. I mean, like there were so many options for planes and so many jobs and so many options for consumers. The problem is it has consolidated. I mean, you've got like United, American, JetBlue. I mean, like now it is still pretty consolidated at the end of the day.
Where you draw the line is where the DOJ comes in. But also, my department has an energized consumer protection team and department. We've taken a lot of actions recently on things like refunds and airlines that didn't come through with the refunds that they were required to offer to customers were held accountable. So we're going to make sure whatever the sectoral industry structure is in terms of how many companies you've got, we're going to do everything we can, first and foremost, of course, to make sure that air travel in this country is safe. And
What do you
also
think about pricing
to
that right now?
exercise all of our consumer protection authorities.
I know you've been talking a lot about inflation. One place that there's been a ton of it is in the pricing of airfare.
That's right.
That's true, man. I was looking up some flights. I'm having some people fly out from California for me because they're working with me on my startup, and it's expensive.
We are seeing that one of many areas where there's a lot of upward pressure on prices. Some of it associated, of course, with fuel, but that doesn't appear to be enough to account for everything that we've seen. Look.
Okay, cool. So that's what Pete Buttigieg is. I had to say Pete Buttigieg. I saw a tweet one day calling him Pete Buttigieg. I was like, bro, this guy's Pete Buttigieg. Like, that's his name, bro. Pete Buttigieg. All right. So what else do we got going on here? What else do we got? Spotify's at 105. Coinbase even lower, 8%, 62. Yeah, man. I mean, that Coinbase bounce on Friday, where were we at? Where's the bounce on Friday? Look, it was, let's go to the 5-day. Yeah, so Coinbase bounced up to about 68, almost 70 basically on Friday. Right back down. The market's crazy. It's irrational. It's like a child. It changes its mind whenever it wants, and it does different things. And, we're seeing that with right now, there's no catalyst for it to keep going. Tesla, 740, Palantir, 809. Let's see. Okay, let me give my thoughts on the video we released this weekend. We can talk about that now that we're coming near the end. I don't know if you guys watched it. It was a debate. It wasn't meant to be a debate, but it ended up becoming a debate with me and ticker symbol U. This video right here. I recommend everyone watch it. I've got some thoughts on it. So first of all, I just want to say that intellectual sparring is something that is incredibly, incredibly important to do. Especially if you're testing your ideas on a certain theory or a certain concept in the world. And if you don't intellectually spar with other people that have conflicting ideas, you never get to really challenge your ideas. So on the podcast, ticker symbol U joined us, who's gracious enough to come on, and he broke down that he says he hated the Palantir earnings letter. And by the way, let's go back to the earnings letter so we remember exactly what we're talking about here. We are talking about a CEO that was quoting Theodore Adorno. This is the thing we're talking about, right? So as a result of that, ticker symbol U, Alex, I hate calling him ticker symbol U because his name is Alex. Alex was just like, this is stupid. This is dumb. They need to show growth. Like, why is he talking about this German philosophy stuff? And then so I pushed back against that because the value of that conversation was not me saying, yeah, you're right. Because to be honest, yeah, it's kind of dumb, like quoting this German philosopher. But the pushback from me was to make the conversation exciting, more engaging, was, look, I like the philosophy, and authentically, genuinely, I do. I mean, I think the shareholder letter is poetry, and, most CEOs won't put out a letter like this before their earnings, but I like it. I think it's kind of cool. So we got into a little debate back and forth about, like, is the philosophy of Palantir what matters or the nuts and bolts of the business? Obviously, if they can't grow, if the product doesn't work, if they don't have the most amazing technology in the world, you shouldn't invest in them because there's other companies that you could put your capital in. I think that's why we're all here for Palantir. But there's a complexity, a mystique, a nuance, a sort of philosophical undertone to why I think people buy Palantir, just like I think why they buy Tesla. I'm not comparing them apples to apple, but I'm saying you buy Tesla because most people don't even know how amazing the battery technology is, but they believe that Elon Musk is going to change the world and transfer us to sustainable energy and make enough money to get to Mars, right? Like, why did Elon Musk get people to put up $8 billion for Twitter out of nowhere? Well, because, they believe in Elon. They believe in his vision. There's no reason why you should believe in the product of Twitter. So my point is, there's a level of philosophy that creates the mystique around Palantir that I believe gives them the ability to sell their product in a lot of different ways. I do not think if they didn't have a lot of the moral premises associated with their company, they would be able to make as much sales as they have been able to do. In fact, I watched a couple of interviews over the weekend, and I want to make some reaction videos. I want you guys to listen to him talking in 2018 around how they got the Skybus partnership. how they got to work in Chrysler, how they got 1,500 people in Chrysler to keep their job, because Palantir as a philosophy does not believe in replacing workers with tech and innovation, but helping to maintain their jobs and increase their productivity with tech and innovation. These are all philosophical ideals that are then permeated in terms of the essence of the technology. And I think that's the point I was trying to make, is that you can't just have the tech without a story behind it. And I think Alex, he's a rocket scientist. He's coming from MIT. He literally went to MIT. He's coming at from a perspective of just like, it's all the nuts and bolts, all the tech. Me, I did business in college, but I'm more philosophical by nature. I actually was a nationally competitive debater in high school, for those who don't know. And I debated philosophy for years. I have my own startup. Part of the startup is not just the technology we're building, but the marketing and distribution. Why? Because the great Reid Hoffman, who's the founder of LinkedIn, says you could have, and actually Peter Thiel said this in 0 to 1, both PayPal Mafia, both in the same line of thought. You could have the best product in the world. If you can't sell it, it's shit. Like, and so to me, it's not a question of just having the best product. It's a question of the marketing, the story, and the philosophy around that product. Now, to Alex and Chris's point on that podcast, their argument was, well, the philosophy is great, but you've got to actually go and do the selling. My little pushback was the philosophy is part of the selling. And I think where we both agree on the Venn diagram is they've got to get better at B2B sales. 1,000%. I just think that the aura of Palantir, I mean, even the name itself, right? That stuff matters to build a product that cares about data privacy and ethics and security, which most companies don't have the level of focus that they have on like Palantir does, which is why I think Palantir is as big as it is. So I think we can all agree sales have to get better for Palantir. B2B, calling the guy up on the phone, launching the deal, securing the partnership, that matters. But also there's a level of storytelling that Karp beautifully is creating into this company to make it $1 trillion company that I think we have to be patient for and let them be able to do that. And I think this is, right now, you're being tested on your conviction for Palantir. And if you're being tested on your conviction for Palantir, I know some people in the comments were like, man, if they don't get rid of this German philosophy stuff, I'm selling. It's like, well, why did you buy in? Because in every interview that Karp was talking about, he was quoting German philosophers. I watched literally 5 interviews over the weekend, just like getting my thoughts back around the CEO and management and leadership. He's been talking the same way he's been talking for a long time. It's pissing people off right now because their stock is down, but that's not a reason to doubt the investment or doubt your conviction, because that's what the company has always been. Their name is Palantir, Lord of the Rings, for God's sake. So, to me, they do have to get better at B2B sales. Definitely think that does have to happen, but I do think the philosophy of Palantir is absolutely vital and incredible. And I don't think companies are going to be as big as Palantir, primarily because I don't think they have that vision. And that vision is not some pie in the sky vision. That vision is what permeates the product. Again, I'm going to do some videos, definitely check them out, where I break down what that means. It's not just like, oh, we have a vision. Like, again, I gave this example on the thing, on the call with TikTok, right? So TikTok's whole thesis is like, the platform should allow authenticity, which means on Instagram, you're trying to be like, show yourself in front of a Lamborghini, right? To like get all your likes and show the perfect version of yourself. TikTok is like, just be authentic, because we're not building a graph around your friends. You don't need to worry about your friends seeing the content. We're going to show it to random people. That's how our algorithm works, which means you want to be more entertaining. You want to be your truest version of yourself, which is why TikTok has exploded and it's taking eyeballs from Instagram. That philosophy is not just some pie in the sky philosophy. The actual product has to match to that philosophy. In this case, the algorithm of TikTok has to actually put you in front of random people in order for you to feel authentic, because if it puts you in front of your friends, you're going to feel so self-conscious. So the philosophy matches the product. Now, does the product have to be amazing? Do they have to have features? Do they have to have network effects? Do they have to have, new filters, all this stuff? Like, yes, agreed. But they have to stay true to that mission and that vision. And I think that's what's Palantir is in the phase of right now. Can they stay true to that mission and vision and execute the actual sales underneath that? But I think that mission and vision is crucial and critical. And we can't criticize shareholder letters that embody that mission and vision, because that's why we invested in the first place. Now, people will say I invested for the tech. Yes, but this whole mission, vision, philosophy stuff was there long before the tech, and it actually influenced the tech in the first place. You can't have one without the other. That's my thoughts. But overall, it was a great debate. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was a great debate. It was fun. For some people, I mean, some silly people were saying that you were being hostile. Ticker symbol U. By the way, Palantir is back at 828. That's amazing. Phenomenal. See? Look at that green candle. It's more excited than when I was on my first time. Phenomenal. Ticker symbol U, Alex, did not feel any hostility. After the debate was over and the stream ended, we were talking like, man, that was a great conversation. You got to remember, guys, you only get hostile when I say, man, you're an idiot. How could you think that's so stupid? Like, that stuff wasn't there. The debate was more so, wait, are you sure? Yes, was there some talking over each other? Sure, but that's what happens when you have an intellectual spar. If you've never been in a real intellectual spar, I've traveled across the world, Croatia, Germany, Slovenia. I've traveled across the world representing the United States of America. One day I'll show my debate videos on this channel if you guys want to see it. I've been in very intense intellectual spars. What I had with Alex and Chris was not intellectual sparring at the highest of levels. It was good stuff, but it was not as deep as it could get. So I think, we're all big boys. We all challenge ourselves. And finally, it would be really boring if all of us just disagreed. That's why debates are fun. And it's not debate for debate's sake, but it's putting arguments out there and challenging hypotheses because the discussion you get out of it ends up being good. Facebook at $200. I bought Facebook at $325. Took my L at $216. Let's see if Facebook can keep going and see what happens. Show me philosophy and I'll show you a Karn artist. I disagree. I mean, you could say that, but I disagree, David. Theo, imagine when they get the sales rights, what a time to invest. I agree. Nah, best debate ever. It wasn't personal, never. People don't get it because, I'm just like, that's not happening. A shareholder letter is a letter written by a firm's top executives to its shareholders to provide a broad overview of the firm's operations throughout the year. I think Chris just copy and pasted that off some stupid definition. Yes, Chris, that is what a shareholder's letter is. But a Palantir shareholder letter is a PhD in philosophy that lets you know. Again, remember, if Palantir's entire argument is that our existence is improbable and nuclear war and data privacy, you're not going to get the typical, like, Alex Karp is not a suit, or else you don't get F-bombs on the call. You're going to get something different, and if you're not ready to handle that, then sell. But if you're ready to handle that, if you're ready to like, be on that journey, then, like, there's a billion other stocks. Go buy those stocks if you don't want this stock. I love that journey. I think that journey is going to be a fun freaking ride. Just because the stock price is down is not why I'm going to be like, oh, the shareholder letter is the worst letter. And it's like, what? The stock price is down. So we're all feeling a little upset. But if the stock price had went up to 15 because earnings were like phenomenal, which by the way, they grew 31% year over year, no one would be saying a word about the shareholder letter. And if you disagree, let me know. I don't think that would happen, right? The shareholder letter was criticized because the stock price went down, which to me is a bit more emotional. And I think all of us are guilty of that. I mean, I've gotten emotional about Palantir a bunch of times. I literally said, I was begging Sham to tweet at me on our Palantir Weekly. I was like, why isn't Sham tweeting at me? I just want him to acknowledge me. All of us get emotional, but if the stock price had rallied, would we say a single word about the shareholder's letter? No, we would be like, yo, this is kind of cool. This is kind of dope. So I think we have to accept it for what it is at the end of the day. I love how you said it's a poetry letter. It is. Every person lives out their philosophy daily. Yes, that is true. All right, guys. Well, 10:12. I've got a lot of stuff to do. First of all, 356 people watching, man. It means the freaking world to me. I hope you guys show up tomorrow, and I earn your trust to show up on many, many days. I started this in February. I remember we had like 190 people that first day, and then we could barely get like 60, 70 because I was inconsistent. I wasn't that good at doing this. And I think the past 3 weeks I've been consistent. I've found a groove, and I've tried to really make sure it's an action-packed 40 minutes of no dull moments, no boring moments, and getting you the news and getting you the updates that are happening in the market. Because that's why you guys are joining the stream. I know some of you guys like my personality, which is amazing. I love it. But a lot of you are like, what's going on in the market? And I want to get my news from the Mint. And there's a lot of other options where you could get your news from. I understand that. This is a competitive market for attention. And I am very happy and very grateful that 400 of you chose to spend your morning with me. And I hope you continue to choose that. And hope one day is 4,000 and, it just keeps growing. And it's the fun journey of starting and building something. So I appreciate everyone. Lots of videos coming out today. Going to be talking about the FTX deal. Going to be talking about China numbers. Going to be talking about some more clips from the Palantir stuff. And going to be talking about this UK security stuff from Palantir switching its operations. Last bit of news, dailypalantir.com is going to be updated today have a lot of articles that are going to be updated, so make sure you're subscribed to that and you can check it out. All the articles are free. Subscribing is free. You just get an email every Thursday. I'm going to be breaking down a lot of carp. This conversation I actually had I didn't even show you the website. This conversation I had with Chris and Alex over the weekend, it actually really inspired me to watch some more stuff on Alex Karp. And I watched about 4 or 5 interviews, and I think I have a better understanding even more than I did before. So I will be analyzing those and breaking those down in videos and in some articles. So thank you so much for being here. I appreciate everybody. Have a great day. I will see you tomorrow morning at 9:20 a.m. Bye-bye, guys.